the Arizona meteor crater. What is the real explanation for what it really is? We are giving the mainstream explanation, which is by definition a fake explanation. It's not an exaggeration. This is a big key to the truth. Everything you hear from the mainstream is a lie, be it institutions, be it media, be it publications, be it mainstream anything. Icons, history, fake idols, everything coming from the mainstream is fake, 110%. So immediately we get their definition or their explanation for what the crater is, and we know it's fake. Just start from there and then move forward. That's a huge key to the truth. From there, there's another key to the truth, which is the history. Everything history related is a lie. Every history that we're given is a lie. The reality are the legends, the myths, the mythologies, the religions. Those things are real. They were there first, and then now we are giving fake explanations in the way of fake histories, fake timelines of events, and they're completely fabricated, bogus, and spurious, counterfeit. So again, that goes to show you that explanation is going to be fake. Third key that you can use here to determine what this crater is, and I'm giving you more the methodology of how I get there so that you guys can use it. It doesn't matter if I tell you the answers right away, because it's not going to help you much. What's really going to help you is the methodology, the playbook, the framework that I'm giving you with all these keys. There are over 30 keys to the truth that I have spotted so far. There might be more, so you can probably detect more keys or find more keys or develop more keys in your search for the truth. But right now, also you can use the globe model being fake, and that's another huge key. So if they're telling you this is an impact crater of a huge asteroid, from the time of the dinosaurs, then okay, dinosaurs are fake, they're a hoax. Space is fake, it's a hoax. We don't know what's outside of the firmament. There might be a firmament, more than likely. We don't know for a fact, but there is something up above us, and it's not fake space. It's not a huge vacuum that's sucking everything into it, right? So I don't go into all these subjects because the videos are long enough, but you can do your own research. And if you find yourself upset or triggered at what I'm saying, please just relax, take a deep breath, and do your own research at your own pace from different sources. Take into account what I'm saying. Don't believe what I'm saying. Do your own due diligence, your own footwork, legwork, documentary work, experimental field, whatever you need to do. Now, there's some people that are quite radical, and they could tell me, they could say, well, keys to the truth, you've never seen that crater. It might be fake. It might be a clay miniature. Well, that could always be a possibility, and you have to be aware of those possibilities. However, I've flown personally over this crater, so I've seen it with my own eyes, and I know it to be true. I haven't been down on the ground. Maybe you have. Please comment. Tell me your story about this huge Arizona crater, if you've been there, or any other similar crater, and what your thoughts are on that. So also be sure to bookmark my upcoming website, keystotruth.com. I know it's been a while, and I've been saying it's going to come up, but I just have some issues that I need to figure out. If you like the content, the material, and all the information I'm giving you and the keys, you can also support the research and all the time and effort that goes into it by becoming a Patreon. There's some taboo content that I'm uploading there little by little that I cannot share on open platforms. So I'm keys to the truth there if you look me up on Patreon. So that is I'm very much appreciated on my end. So the fake space is going to tell you right away that this is no asteroid impact crater. Just, it cannot be period, end of story. So there might be other explanations, and there might be the people that say, "Oh, it's a plasma phenomenon. It's a plasma blast crater that came from above, or that came from below, or it's a gas explosion from below." And all these things could be real. I'm gonna give you my take on it, and then you do your own investigations, right, into the phenomenon. So then we get to another key to the truth, which is one of the biggest ones. It's your five senses. That's a huge key to the truth, your five senses. And then you have another key to the truth, which is your sixth sense, your intuition, what your heart is telling you. You also have a different key to the truth, which is your personal experience. What you can actually empirically glean from the world that you live in, from what you've lived through, from what, information that you can gather from your surroundings, okay? So that is more important than you actually think it is. We give it so little importance, but it's huge. So when you're trying to determine what is this big hole in the desert that we've come to call a crater, what does it look like in my daily life, or in my years, 30 years or 20 years or 70 years of life, or 15 years, however old you may be, you've probably come across something similar to this. And you could tell me, oh, well, it looks like, a prairie dog hole, or you could tell me it looks like, somebody sat there on the sand, with their knee, a huge titan knee that created that big divot or that big crater. There could be endless possibilities, but so you make the list, like you brainstorm, and then you start looking for the most likely scenario. Occam's razor, you apply Occam's razor, but you're using the key of everyday life and experience and your five senses, all right? We're trying to dismiss the crazy explanations, but sometimes they're the only explanations. But if you can have a very simple, a very elegant explanation that's efficient, that works, that you can look at it from different angles, and it's going to give you all the details regarding, then you've come across an elegant explanation that can tell you the whole story without going out of the realm of the natural into the supernatural. However, again, I keep repeating this, but it's true. Check it out for yourself. This world is not natural, it's supernatural. Every inch of this world is made of crystals that are magic crystals that are made by God. He chose it that way for whatever reason. He could have done miniature unicorns, okay? So, but he didn't. He could have chosen atoms and molecules, but he didn't. Atoms and molecules are fake, CGI hoax. Watch my video on the subject. Don't believe a word I say. But anyway, the thing is this: what is this resemble the most that you've seen in your everyday life? Is this the the footstep of a giant turtle, or what is it? What does it resemble the most? And then we can come to finally see the light. Now, do not worry too much about the scale, because sometimes you see it's so huge that it couldn't quite possibly be what I'm thinking. Well, don't worry about that. That's your lack of imagination. It's not that it's not possible. Right there, you have to step back and see, like, it looks like A, B, or C, and then worry about the scale, right? So if you know about mud fossils, or mud floods, or if you know about giant trees, then you can mix that into the equation, and then you can worry about the scale of things, right? Meteor crater. It is said to be about zero point 0.7 miles in diameter. All right. So again, not worrying too much about the scale, just worrying more about what it looks like. Meteor crater. Don't worry about the fake explanations. Impact crater. Don't worry about impact crater. They're always trying to mislead you. NASA involved. So if you see these liars that are involved, immediately you're knowing that whatever they tell you is not true. Mystery. It's a mystery. that had eluded people for years. And then, just look at the photographs. Looks like it's got some, like on the edges, they're like upturned. And then it's got that big hole that we refer to as a crater. But what is it really? And the closest thing that I have found is a giant tree stump hole. Okay? So that's it. That's the long and short of it. If you're pressed for time, then you found the answer. If you want to investigate this further, please go ahead. Do it on your own, or you can continue watching this video. But whenever you cut down a tree, whatever size tree, you are left with a stump. And then how do you get rid of the stump? There's different ways. But at the end of the day, you're going to have this hole. And I've had this, I've done this personally. In the past, I've had to deal with an old tree, and I had to remove the stump, and there's a hole that's left. Okay? So let's look at this. If you watch for videos on how they remove the tree stumps, if you do it with fire in particular, it's going to leave that big gaping hole. You can cut into it as well. Look. And so here's one example. He's doing a removal with fire here.
For over 3 years now, and it was already cut down when we got here, so it's been cut down for quite a while. And I have considered bringing a grinder, coming in and grinding it out. But I had a thought earlier in the year, I guess it was in the end of last year. We bought one of those logs that you get at the home center that has a hole go down through it and a hole to the side that you can light as a campfire, and the one log will last for a long time. And so I started having the idea, why don't I try drilling down in the log and then drilling a hole from the side and see if I can get it just burn itself out from the inside out. It may be too wet down in there to work, but I've got nothing to lose, so I thought I'd try it. And
so he's drilling holes just to make it easier to burn into it. I'm going to skip ahead here. So you're trying to burn it from within.
it looks like it's finally on fire. Come back out here after a while and see how it's looking. I'm about 3 hours in now, and it is still going strong. Still going strong. You see how much bigger the holes have gotten. But I think it would have helped, because right now the side I didn't drill the hole in is quite a bit thicker than the other sides.
Then I want you to see what it looks like when it's done. Check it out.
So it's eliminating the next
what does it look like? Right there. Upturned edges. And it's got this kind of irregular shape. Lo and behold, that's exactly what this looks like. Exactly. Now, the desert in Arizona is so freaking dry that there's no water in it, so it's exposed. But, there could be dozens of these, or even hundreds or more around the world that are filled with water. And I'll get to that in a minute. But, just everyday surroundings, look at that. That's exactly what it is, in my opinion, but let me know your thoughts. It's a giant tree stump removal here in this area. They cut it down. They were left with a huge stump. They didn't want a second Devil's Tower fiasco, because then it gets petrified and then you can't remove it. It's just so huge and hard, no matter what technology you have. So they burned through it, and left that huge gaping hole. And they couldn't fill it back up because, where are you going to get all that? Where are you going to quarry, those thousands of tons to fill it back up? There's just no way in the remote desert. Okay, so that's what it is. That's the long and short of it. Now, some more implications of what this means. If the tree was or we're given 0.73 miles, then that means, at least half of that was the diameter of the tree. So let's go with what do you want, 0.3 miles? That's going to give you some huge numbers as far as the height and the size of the tree. The ratio of the diameter of a tree to its height is about 80 to 1. 80 to 1. So if this tree was about half a mile, you're talking huge numbers. You're talking 40 miles high, and that sounds insane, doesn't it? But, make it 20. That's still an insane number, okay? And you have this paper here on what the diameters are for a tree that size. Here you have that 80 to 1 ratio. It's going to vary depending on the type of the tree, but that's pretty solid. So you might have a tree that's 40 miles high. That those numbers, we don't even know what they mean in the real world. So we're talking over 100,000 feet high, and that's crazy. How far is it from Devil's Tower? I'm sorry. It's about 1,000 miles from it. But if you're talking a tree that's 20 miles high, I mean, if that tree fell over, if that tree was even 10 miles high or 20 miles high, they would be huge, huge landmarks that you could see from miles away, taller than any mountain you've ever seen in your life or ever imagined, for that matter. So, I mean, just these things were just magical parts of the magical world that used to be, and that is no more. And part of our occulted histories, the real histories, part of the megalithic structures, part of why there is one single language that is our common ancestor. That I am telling you that is Sanskrit, and I'll give you more information to that effect, and why all the continents' names come from Sanskrit, and why is Christ Yeshua's name in all the sacred texts, from the New Testament to the Old Testament to the Vedanta to the Upanishads to the Shiva Sutras. His name is also in all the holy mantras of Kailash in the region of the Himalayas. What does this all mean? And then we have these tales of the floods, the ancient floods, the flood of Noah, the flood of Atlantis, and we also have the new moon map. So what do we make of all of it? And then on the new moon map, we have a huge landmass called Lemuria, which might have a very advanced technology to this day. So I'm throwing too much information at you. I'll do several videos on the subject, but those giant trees for sure were a force to reckon with, and they didn't want to deal with it, so they cut them down. Who was it? I don't think it was anybody with good intentions, right? They were trying to hide something, probably trying to hide their power capabilities. So as far as height goes, U2 planes go 70,000 feet. Balloons go, over 100,000, 150,000, depending on if you believe these numbers or not. But you're talking that these giant trees could go way up there, almost touch the firmament, or go even beyond it. We don't know their capabilities. Just like Jack and the Beanstalk, the giant beanstalk. So make any conversion that you want to make, and then we go back to the Feynman lectures and the electrical potential gradient of the atmosphere, which is a known fact. And there's so many videos on YouTube. It's not even funny, of independent people. There's some hoaxers out there, but you can verify this independently. If you want to do the experiment, go ahead. I'm not going to do this one. I'll do others. And pretty much for every meter or every yard of height, you get 100 volts more of electrical potential gradient. So, and at these heights, you're going to be going into numbers that are like high voltage. You're going to go into like over 50,000, 100,000 volts of electricity coursing through that giant tree. So is that why they cut them down? Because they were part of this magical free energy grid, and now that's why we have the other grid, the artificial grid, gathering the atmospheric electricity in today's world. Maybe, I mean, that could be an explanation. But remember also from my video on why plants are green, that they are that because of the copper crystals inside them. naturally occurring, and they are power plants. They are fractal antennas that are transmitting. They're transceivers. They're receiving, transmitting. What are they transmitting? What are they manifesting? Well, they're doing all these things. They're transmitting frequencies of life. Just like in the movie Avatar, and that's another key to the truth. The lies in the news, the truth in entertainment. So you have these giant trees in the world of Avatar, and what are they doing? They're doing so many things, and you have two different types of giant trees. I'll talk more about the Tree of Souls in another video, and that one holds more truth than you could imagine. And I don't want to trigger people more than they need to be right now, but there's a lot to this. And so from these huge trees, remember they were mining in the movie, they were trying to obtain certain crystals that were called unobtainium, a material that was underneath the tree. Well, maybe the tree was making it. You see what I'm saying? So again, also these huge trees, power plants, that's why plants are called plants, because they're power plants. In today's world, they might be manifesting frequencies of life. They're transmitting life. And if you've ever parked your car underneath a tree for an extended period of time, you've noticed that phenomenon where it gets full of resin, or that residue that the tree is actually kind of raining down on its surroundings. And I haven't found the name for it online anywhere. If you know it, please let me know, and I'll send you a free Keys to the Truth t-shirt. The first person that tells me if there's a name for that and what the name is for that phenomenon, where the tree from the leaves or the branches is actually draining some kind of liquid or resinous residue, and it gets on your car, it gets everywhere. And I haven't found that. Why is that? Why are they hiding the name for that, or what that phenomenon is? And I see that in the green copper plasma deposition phenomenon that is called the aurora borealis, and that's what the aurora is. It's the huge giant tree at the North Pole that is manifesting that. Watch my video on the subject, what the aurora borealis, aka northern lights, really are. And so what they're doing is they're seeding life. That's why they used to be called giant cedar trees, because they seed life everywhere around them. Not just saplings and seeds of its own kind, but they're distributing, all the nutrients and to their surroundings, so there can be more life and they can harbor more life. So they're way makers in a sense. And then if we get to the keys of the sacred text in the Bible, you can see in Daniel, he's mentioning Daniel 4, he's mentioning the giant tree. And he's mentioned it in the way of a dream, but he's still mentioning it. Okay, and remember, the Bible and these sacred texts are to be approached not like, oh, this is religious. Oh, I'm not a Christian. I don't care about your dogma. I don't care about dogma either. But you have to approach these texts like what they are. They are executive, above top secret, confidential briefs of intelligence. Okay, and that's how the elite, miserable elites approach them. And that's how we need to approach them, because they're filled with truth and secrets. Okay, so he's saying in Daniel 4:10, these are the visions I saw while lying in bed. I looked, and there before me stood a tree in the middle of the land. Its height was enormous. The tree grew large and strong, and its top touched the sky. It was visible to the ends of the earth. Its leaves were beautiful, its fruit abundant, and on it was food for all. Under it the wild animals found shelter, and the birds lived in the branches. From it every creature was fed. Okay, clear as day. And then we get all these analogies of the Lord, and the trees across the Bible. Now, even mentions in Isaiah 14 who cut down the trees. If you know what you're looking for, and you know the keys of the Gospels, and the keys of the Bible and the Holy Scriptures, and you know the keys of the giant trees and the hidden histories, then this is glaringly obvious. Isaiah 14, and he's talking about when the devil was cast down from heaven. Here, how you have fallen from heaven, morning star, son of the dawn, you have been cast down to the earth. You who once laid low the nations, you said in your heart, blah blah blah. You know all that. But before that, he says, even the junipers and the cedars of Lebanon gloat over you and say, now that you have been laid low, talking about the devil being laid low, no one comes to cut us down. So he's attributing the cutting down of the giant trees here, the giant cedars, to the devil, none other than the devil. So now that the devil is gone, he's laid low, nobody is cutting them down anymore. Not that we know that there are any left. I still think there's one, the biggest one of them all, in the North Pole. And here we have Enoch. And when it fell upon the earth, this is Enoch 83.4. And when it fell upon the earth, I saw how the earth was swallowed up in a great abyss. And mountains were suspended on mountains, and hills sank down upon hills. He's talking about mud floods, right? And tall trees were torn up by their roots and were thrown down and sank into the abyss. Tall trees, he's talking about giant trees, okay? Otherwise, he would just say trees. And we can see this again in the media, for example, here in Lord of the Rings, with Saruman and the two towers. And look at this remind you maybe of Arizona or of Great Canyon, whatever happened there. You have this black warlock here, which is a maga, and I've already told you what that means. And look at what they're doing. They're creating an army. They're fighting a huge fight, a huge war that was an human versus non-human entity. And Tolkien and C.S. Lewis were buddies, and Lewis wrote about Narnia, and I think they both encoded a lot of secrets into their novels, into their books. And they had access. They were Rosicrucians. So they had access to the secret libraries of Babylon, which are what they call the libraries of the Vatican, which is actually Babylon. And there's books on the subject. I'll do a video on that later. Look, he's got a crystal there. They're doing black crystal magic. What are they doing to the trees? Look at the trees. They're cutting down the trees. Who are they? The orcs, the Nephilim, these monsters they're throwing down into the pits. They're using them to make, war. He's using dark crystal magic because they know about crystals. Doesn't mean that they're inherently bad. It just means that they use them for evil. Okay? And the cutting of the giant trees. So it's everywhere. And like I said before, there might be cases where these lake craters are also the same thing. They're not impact craters. I mean, they could be volcanic. Maybe that's an explanation. But there's others that are not volcanic, and those could like this one right here, could very well be giant tree stump holes. Okay, some of them they look just like a huge tree stump hole would look if it was filled up with water. So always look for the simplest explanation, something that you can relate to in your everyday life, and you might find the truth. Okay, guys? So, there's so many of these everywhere around you. So we also have, we can correlate this surprisingly with the Bhagavad Gita. And in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15, the yoga of the Supreme Person, Lord Krishna, which is another name for the Father, the Creator, he is telling Arjuna the night before the huge Mahabharata war, where over 1 million people were killed. He's telling him about the giant tree, So he's telling them, Sri Bhagavan Udavamulam Ada Shakam Ashvatam Prahu Abhyayam Chandamsi Yasya Parnani Ya Tam Veda Sa Vedavid Vedas. So, and this is not a good translation, but it still works. It still conveys the truth. For example, Yah here, they're saying it's anyone who, but the word Yah in Sanskrit and in Hebrew means the Almighty. That's what it means. Okay, you could use it to mean something else, but that's precisely what it means. And that word is repeated hundreds of times in the Vedanta, and it's repeated dozens of times here in the Bhagavad Gita. So that's exactly what it means. So basically, what it's saying is, here's the official translation, not this official translation, but this translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is Krishna, which is the Father, said, "It is said that there is an imperishable tree that has its roots upward and its branches down, and whose leaves are the Vedic hymns. One who knows this tree is the knower of the Vedas." And I'll tell you what that means, because you could read this 100 times and still not get it unless you've been translating the Vedas like I have, literally. And if you do that, you will see that it gives you precise details on how the giant tree works. The Yggdrasil, Shaka, the tree of life, the tree of souls at the North Pole, and it tells you in precise detail how it manifests Lord Hari, which is the green aurora borealis. And even the word aurora borealis, boreal means tree. Aurora means day, means light of the tree. So, I mean, it's right there in the language, and that's another key to the truth. Even in our modern languages, they encode the truth. So he's Lord Krishna here. God is telling you that if you really understand the Vedas, like literally, tangibly, you're going to know that there's this giant tree, which is a tangible phenomenon. It's not a metaphor. It's not an analogy. It's not telling you, oh, there's something, just spiritual. No, this is tangible and spiritual. That's what I want you to realize. So this is more of a secret guide, okay, here in the Bhagavad Gita, and it's telling you the same exact thing as the Bible. So they're corroborating each other. And there are literatures that are, from different cultures, from different times, different languages, and they're still saying the same thing because it's God's message that's coming across. And He wants you to know this truth. And He wants you to explore more into this truth so you can find out even more than what I'm finding out myself. So He wants both you and I to know this. He wants you to share this. And, and run with it. See how high it can take you. We don't know how high it can take you. Maybe we'll find some even more amazing things. Okay? So, why hasn't the giant tree at the North Pole been cut down? Because I believe it's generating the firmament, it's generating also the sun and the moon. I'll tell you in detail how he's doing that. The Vedanta tells the details. It's just very time consuming for somebody like myself who's not fluent in Sanskrit to do the translation. I'll keep doing that. And your support is very welcome. So if you like this video, please share, be sure to subscribe, and let me know your thoughts on all these subjects that are pretty amazing, pretty intense. And there you have it, guys. If you ever wondered what the Arizona crater was, you don't need to wonder any longer. Now you know. God bless.